pornography, porn. Oh my gosh, you're fucking hiding in the closet watching porn like a freak, thinking you fuck like a porn star. Meanwhile, you're so delusional, right? I heard someone say this the other day. He was equating like business to guys watching porn thinking they fuck like porn stars. He said, you're delusional. Just because you see it and watch it doesn't mean that's who you are. Welcome back to another episode of the Unstoppable Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Michael Crane. We're going to get right into it today. But before I do, subscribe, share. I got some fire for you guys today. We're talking about pornography, porn. Oh my gosh, you're fucking hiding in the closet watching porn like a freak, thinking you fuck like a porn star. Meanwhile, you're so delusional, right? I heard someone say this the other day. He was equating like business to guys watching porn thinking they fuck like porn stars. He said, you're delusional. Just because you see it and watch it doesn't mean that's who you are. So check it out. Anytime you do something that weakens your resolve and discipline, you become a lesser version of yourself. I don't care if it's food. I don't care if it's porn. Whatever vice that you have, every time you give in to that temptation when that craving hits, you become a weaker, lesser version of yourself. Let's talk about the guy who says, I'm not going to watch porn anymore. I want to be dedicated to my wife. I don't want to watch that toxic crap. You know, it just puts me in this weird headspace. And then all of a sudden one night he had a stressful day. It was a long day. And he starts getting that itch, right? He starts getting that itch. Oh man, maybe I'll just watch it a little bit. I'll wait till my wife and kids go to sleep. Just one time, it's not that big of a deal. And he does. He watches porn. Guess what? That night and the next morning, he feels guilt and shame. Why? Because he knows that's not the man he wants to be. The same thing happens when an individual relapses on drugs and alcohol. They feel shame and regret. Same thing that happens to the guy that's trying to eat clean and he goes into the pantry and binges on cookies and all this crap. He wakes up the next day feeling ashamed of his behavior. Look, at any time you feel shame and guilt around your behavior, it's because it doesn't align to who you want to be. And you're sabotaging your potential when you do that. Any of these vices, these things that give you quick hits of pleasure, these cravings that you get, those things never amount to you becoming the person that you want to be. If you do those habitually over time, your life will deteriorate more and more and more because those cravings get stronger and you're training yourself to give into them. And when you give into them and you put yourself in that state of shame and guilt, you're in the lowest emotional state possible. You can't thrive in that state. Like, show me someone right now who's feeling guilt and shame, stuck in that place, who's thriving. They're not. They're not thriving. Your actions subsequently are going to be affected. Your mental health is going to be affected, and you're tortured internally by your decisions. You guys, I battled addiction for a long time. I used to get drunk at night and make a fool of myself and get in arguments and fights. The next day, I'd always wake up and I'd feel guilt and shame by my behavior. I wasn't living the life that I wanted, and I was habitually in this cycle and this pattern, and I couldn't change because when those temptations or when those cravings would hit, I would give into them every step of the way. The moment I committed to a life of sobriety from alcohol, from drugs, from porn, from processed foods and desserts, my entire life elevated because I no longer do things that drop me into that emotional state of shame and guilt. So I'm always feeling optimistic. I'm always feeling proud of my behavior. Therefore, I have more gratitude, more self-love that I can transfer to my wife and kids, that I can carry out into the world. This is why it's so important. It doesn't matter if it's porn, food, drugs, and alcohol. These vices, they have a grip on you. And when they have a grip on you, you're sabotaging your potential. Every time you give into these cravings, you weaken your mental resolve. The ability to say no becomes harder. The more and more you give into them, the less self-control you have. But if you can develop discipline, you draw that line in the sand, you say, I'm never going back over there again. Every time you say no, every time you say, I'm not going to do that, and you follow through with the right action, you get stronger. Your belief in yourself grows. Your confidence grows. And then over time, you're able to actually move towards a life you want, because to build a life that you want takes focus and discipline. You can't get distracted. You can't give in to temptations. These little moments of pleasure can break everything you've worked so hard to create. It's choosing a purpose-driven life over one where you're constantly chasing pleasurable moments, because the guy who's always chasing pleasure is never satisfied. It's never enough. Tomorrow when you wake up, you're going to need more. Then the next day, you're going to need more. Those actions don't create the life you want. They create a version of yourself that you're ashamed of, that you feel bad about, and that's the person that suffers in life. So look at you guys. Porn is a vice. Eating bad processed foods that make you fat and lazy and unhealthy is a vice. Drugs is a vice. Alcohol is a vice. Like consuming too much nonsense and content online that doesn't serve you is a vice. we know what's right and wrong in this life. And the fact that so many people fail to just take responsibility for their actions and understand how detrimental these small daily actions are, it's mind-blowing, because these small daily actions become lifelong habits and vices that shape your reality. And if you're okay with being a lesser version of yourself, keep chasing pleasure, but stop lying and saying that you're living this amazing life. Because I know deep down inside you're suffering. If you're not looking in the mirror proud of who you've seen and in love with the person you've created and the life that you're living, you're suffering. You're suffering in your thoughts, your emotions, your spirit suffering, because you're suffocating your potential. Time for you to rise up, do the right thing, and be an example for this world. Look, you guys, I'm on a mission to change the world, but I can't do it by myself. I need you to step up and lead by example. And I need you to subscribe and share this podcast episode with everybody that you know that needs to be inspired to level up in their lives. Like I said, I'm on a mission to change the world, but I can't do it alone. I need you. Let's do it together.